Ever buried yourself under boxes helping a friend move
Huh?
and thought, wait, maybe this could be a job?
Yeah.
We're going to find out if that's really all it's cracked up to be or if there's more to being a mover than meets the eye.
Right.
So today, we're diving deep into the world of professional moving, using RoleCatcher's in-depth resources to unpack this career path,
Love it.
from the physical demands to like the surprising skills you might not expect.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that initial perception because the RoleCatcher Mover Career Guide addresses it head on.
Okay.
They ask right off the bat, are you someone who enjoys physical work and being on the move?
Okay.
It's like they're saying, let's be real, this isn't for the faint of heart.
No sugarcoating here.
Yeah.
So it's physically demanding, but what about the actual work? Is it just hauling heavy furniture all day long?
Well, it's definitely physical, but the
Yeah.
guide emphasizes the unexpected variety. Think disassembling furniture,
Okay.
mastering packing techniques
Right.
so that precious china doesn't arrive in pieces,
Yeah.
even sometimes handling installation at the new place.
Oh, wow.
It's not just about muscle, it's about strategy and finesse.
Strategy and finesse, huh? Okay. More involved than I initially thought.
Absolutely. The guide even mentions that movers often have to read pictograms to handle goods properly.
Pictograms.
Yes.
Like ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. Did they miss their calling as archaeologists?
Not quite. Think those little symbols on boxes.
Okay.
The broken wine glass for fragile items, the
Right.
umbrella for keep dry.
Right, right.
Those are pictograms.
Yeah.
And they're crucial for movers to understand, weight distribution, handling instructions, potential hazards, all that good stuff.
Wow. I never realized those little symbols held so much weight,
Right.
unintended.
Right.
Like a whole secret language of moving.
It is.
You're telling me a misinterpretation could lead to disaster.
Exactly. Imagine accidentally flipping a box marked with an arrow.
Right.
Because you didn't realize it had to stay upright. That's a recipe for a very unhappy customer.
Yeah.
So yeah, pictograms, a mover's best friend.
That's wild.
Right.
So you need to be detail-oriented, able to think on your feet, and probably have a knack for spatial reasoning to get those couches through doorways. Who knew there was so much to it?
You're catching on quickly. And speaking of unexpected skills, the guide also hints at the growing role of technology in the moving industry.
Okay.
There's a whole section on technology advances in the work environment section, which piqued my curiosity.
Ooh, technology advances.
Yeah.
Does that mean robots are coming to replace all the movers out there?
Mm-hmm.
Will my moving crew arrive in self-driving trucks with robotic arms to lift the heavy stuff?
Now hold on a second. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay.
While the guide doesn't specify what those specialized tools and equipment are just yet, it does emphasize that the core of the job is still very much about physical work.
Okay.
However, it does make you wonder how tech is changing the game.
It definitely does.
Yes.
Okay, so maybe no robots taking over just yet.
Yeah.
But it sounds like there's more to being a mover than just brawn.
Yeah,
You need brains too.
you got it.
This is already eye-opening, and we've barely scratched the surface.
You're telling me.
Yeah.
And just wait until we unpack what RoleCatcher has to say about building a career in this field. We're about to see how you can go from hauling boxes to potentially running the whole show.
You know, one thing that really surprised me in this mover career guide is the whole section on career stages. I always figured mover was, well, just mover.
Right.
But they lay out 5 distinct levels,
Wow.
from entry level all the way up to manager.
Okay.
That's a whole ladder to climb.
It's a great illustration of how experience translates into more responsibility and even leadership in this field.
Yeah.
They even give you example profiles for each stage.
Okay.
So you can really picture yourself moving up, so to speak.
Okay, so walk me through it. What's the typical trajectory look like?
Well, picture this. You start as an entry-level mover,
Okay.
assisting with basic tasks, getting a feel for the ropes, literally.
Right.
Then as a junior mover, you're handling relocations more independently,
Right.
making decisions on the fly.
Right, like how to Tetris that sectional sofa up the stairs without scratching anything.
Exactly. But here's where it gets interesting.
Okay.
Senior movers.
Yeah.
They're the ones leading teams, managing logistics on larger moves.
Yeah.
Then you've got supervisors overseeing multiple projects.
Okay.
And finally, manager movers.
Right.
They're basically running the whole operation like a well-oiled moving machine.
Wow.
Oh.
From muscle to management, who knew there was such a clear path to leadership in the moving world? But I imagine it's not just about putting in the hours, right?
Mm.
You'd need to pick up some serious skills along the way.
You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
And the guide really stresses that growth isn't automatic.
Right.
There's a big emphasis on continuous learning if you want to climb that ladder.
Right.
They suggest things like taking online courses,
Right.
maybe on advanced packing techniques,
Right.
furniture repair, even safety regulations.
So it's not just about lifting with your legs, it's about constantly learning and upgrading your skills.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense, especially with those technology advances we were talking about earlier.
Precisely. And here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Especially for you, since you mentioned using RoleCatcher for your career exploration.
Yeah.
Remember those specialized tools and equipment the guide mentioned?
Yes.
Well, RoleCatcher is like a specialized tool for navigating your job search in the digital age.
Okay, you've got my attention. Tell me more about how RoleCatcher can help me land a job as a mover.
Well, imagine this.
Okay.
You're scrolling through job boards like LinkedIn, Indeed, all those usual suspects.
Right.
And you spot a listing that catches your eye.
Right.
But who has time to copy and paste all those links
Yeah.
and risk losing them in the internet abyss?
Ugh, don't even remind me. I've lost track of so many promising leads that way.
Well, with RoleCatcher, you don't have to.
Okay.
Their jobs page highlights this fantastic feature called RoleCatcher.capture.
Okay.
It's a browser plugin that lets you save jobs from any job board instantly.
Okay.
Think of it as a super-powered bookmark for your job hunt.
Okay, that sounds super handy, especially when you're juggling multiple applications.
Right.
But does it do anything beyond saving me from link collecting chaos?
Oh, it gets even better.
Okay.
RoleCatcher doesn't just collect those job descriptions, it analyzes them too.
Okay.
They use AI to pinpoint the specific skills each employer is looking for.
Okay.
They call this skills analysis.
Right.
And it's like having your own personal recruiter sifting through the jargon to tell you what really matters.
Wow. So instead of sending out a generic resume and hoping for the best,
Yeah.
I can tailor my application to highlight the skills that are most relevant to each specific job.
You got it.
Okay.
No more blindly throwing applications into the void and hoping something sticks.
Right.
RoleCatcher helps you put your best foot forward,
Yeah.
even if you're switching careers and don't have direct experience as a mover.
This is blowing my mind.
Yeah.
So RoleCatcher helps me find relevant jobs and even helps me tailor my application.
Yes.
But what about the dreaded interview? Any help there?
You bet.
Right.
RoleCatcher has a whole section dedicated to interviews.
Okay.
And trust me, it's a game changer.
Okay.
They have this massive database of over 120,000 practice interview questions.
Wow.
And get this,
Okay.
you can filter them by job title.
Right.
So you're practicing with questions specifically geared towards becoming a mover.
Hold on. 120,000 questions. That's a lot of questions.
It is.
Like,
But
wow.
don't worry, you don't have to answer them all.
Right.
The point is you can prep for a huge range of scenarios.
Right.
From basic skills-based questions to those curveballs that interviewers love to throw.
Right.
And it's not just about reading through a list.
What?
They have a video practice feature where you can record yourself answering
Okay.
and watch it back.
Okay, now you're just showing off.
Right.
Video practice. It's like having a personal interview coach, but way less intimidating.
Right. And if you opt for their RoleCatcher Copilot AI subscription, you get even more personalized feedback.
Copilot AI. Okay, now that sounds seriously next level. Break it down for me. What does this Copilot AI actually do?
It's seriously cool.
Oh.
It analyzes your video recordings and provides AI-driven feedback on your body language, your tone of voice,
Wow.
even the content of your answers. It's like having an AI whisperer helping you ace that interview.
Okay, now that we're talking AI whispers, things are getting a little too sci-fi for me. Let's get back to basics for a second.
Okay.
With all this amazing tech, it's easy to forget that landing a job is still about connecting with a real human being. What does the Mover Career Guide say about acing that interview and showing potential employers what you're made of?
That's a great point, and the guide actually touches on this in a really interesting way. They have this whole section called Mover FAQs,
Okay.
which at first glance might not seem like interview gold.
Mover FAQs. Okay, I'll bite. How do frequently asked questions help me impress a hiring manager?
It's all about reading between the lines.
Okay.
These FAQs cover everything from the daily responsibilities of a mover to the challenges they might face and the skills needed to succeed.
Okay.
By understanding these FAQs, you can anticipate the types of questions an interviewer might ask
Okay.
and tailor your answers accordingly.
Ah, I see what you're saying. It's like a sneak peek into the interviewer's mindset. So instead of just rattling off my resume, I can demonstrate a deeper understanding of what the job really entails and show that I've thought about the challenges and how I'd handle them.
Now you're thinking like a pro.
Okay.
It's about showcasing not just your skills and experience, but also your passion, your
Yeah.
work ethic,
Yeah.
and your genuine interest in the field.
This is eye-opening. So I can use RoleCatcher to find jobs, tailor my application, and even practice my interview skills.
Yeah.
But with all this emphasis on technology and skills,
Yeah.
is there a risk of forgetting the human side of things?
That's a great question, and it brings us to a really important point that the guide emphasizes.
So we're talking about the human side of moving. And I have to admit, when I think about handing over my precious belongings to a bunch of strangers, trust immediately comes to mind. What does the guide say about building that trust with potential customers?
You're spot on. The Mover FAQs actually address this directly. One question stood out to me. If you were a customer, what would make you trust a mover with your belongings?
Ooh, that's a good one. It really makes you think from the customer's perspective.
Exactly. It's not just about showing up on time and having a strong back. It's about professionalism, clear communication, and that extra dose of care that reassures the customer that their belongings are in good hands.
Right, like I'm not just trusting them with my stuff, I'm trusting them in my home. It's very personal service in a lot of ways.
Absolutely. And in this day and age, that trust extends to the digital world as well. Remember how we talked about RoleCatcher emphasizing a strong online presence?
Right, like building your digital storefront.
Exactly. Potential customers are going to Google you, read reviews, check for complaints. It's like a virtual background check for movers. Having a professional website or social media presence can make all the difference in establishing credibility and trustworthiness.
So you're telling me that my digital footprint is just as important as my carbon footprint when it comes to being a mover. That's wild.
In a way, yes, especially in a field where word of mouth and online reviews are so crucial. But speaking of crucial, there's one more thing the Mover Career Guide highlights that we haven't touched on yet: safety.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
With all that heavy lifting and navigating tricky stairwells, safety has got to be paramount.
Absolutely. The guide mentions safe lifting techniques multiple times and even suggests getting certifications in this area. It's not just about protecting yourself from injury, it's about protecting the customer's belongings too.
Makes sense. The last thing you want is to throw out your back carrying someone's antique armoire up a narrow staircase. That would be a disaster for everyone involved.
Exactly. So for anyone considering a career as a mover, prioritizing safety is key. It shows professionalism, demonstrates a commitment to providing a quality service, and frankly, it's just common sense.
Well said. So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. The physical demands, the tech advancements, career progression, the importance of customer service, safety, and even how to ace that interview with a little help from RoleCatcher. What a whirlwind. Any final thoughts for our listener who might be considering a career as a mover?
You know, what's fascinating to me is that while technology is changing so many aspects of how we work, including the moving industry, some things remain timeless.
Like what?
Like the value of hard work, a positive attitude, and genuine care for the work you do. Those qualities will always shine through, no matter how advanced our tools and technologies become.
I love that. It's about more than just moving boxes. It's about moving people literally and figuratively.
Beautifully said. It's about making a difference, one move at a time.
And on that note, I think we've reached the final destination of our deep dive into the world of movers.
Yeah.
I hope you've enjoyed the ride as much as we have.
And who knows, maybe this has inspired you to see the possibilities that exist beyond those cardboard boxes. Until next time, happy moving.